Hello, everyone. I am super excited about today's live. I'm about to let ping our guest, and then I'm about to, let some other people in. Here you go. Why isn't it letting me? Here we go. So, greetings. Welcome in. I hope that your day is going well. I hope that you are all having a great week, a great Memorial Day. Anybody in the service, shout out to y'all. And looking forward to our conversation. I don't know why it's not letting you up. I clicked the button, so you should be able to get in. I'm just sending this live out to some people. Yeah, I'm having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful week. A lot of great things are in the work. A lot of great things are in the works for mental health. I am excited for all the changes that I've seen. Okay, here you go. Yeah, very excited for all the changes that I'm seeing to go towards mental health services. Hi, good morning.
Hi, girl.
How are you?
Hi, little.
How are you?
Good. How you doing this morning, lady?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, like I was saying, very excited. I've been in some real beautiful rooms with people who are just like me in the fight for, creative space for people in mental health, and very excited for all the things to come. How are you?
I'm doing well this morning. I decided to sit outside so I can get some
Yeah,
air and get good, sunlight, energy, all that. But I'm
right.
good. Happy to be here. Happy to join you.
I'm so excited. So let's just get started. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? What do I do? I am Kimiya Hicks, and I do all kind of stuff. I do whatever I feel led to do. But my main career at this point in life is I'm a hairstylist. I have been a hairstylist for 30 years. I had a hair salon for 18 of those 30 years, and I just gave that up recently, the salon portion. In November, I closed my salon so I could focus more on myself and what I want to do in the future. So that's where I'm at right now. But yes, I am a hairstylist,
Yeah.
and um, and you know, I say that hairstyling like saved my life because I talk about this often because people think that oh, it's so cute, you must have been this little girl playing with dolls, you must have been somebody in your family, you probably grew up in a salon. Like, no, none of that is true. I became a hairstylist for survival first. I grew to love it very quickly, but that is how I became a hairstylist. I actually saw a lady counting her money and thought, and I was about 15 years old, I think, 14, 15 at the time. And I thought to myself, she got a lot of money. And I asked her, I said, you made all that money doing hair? And she said, yeah. I said, today? And she said, yeah. I was like, shit, I'm finna do hair. And that's when I started like tinkering with it. But it actually came to me quickly, and it became more about the hair. I just happened to make good money doing it. So money wasn't the focus, but it was the initial motivation because my life was serious young. So I needed to take care of myself.
Right, right. And so glad that you got into that. because you are an amazing hairstylist. And not only that, you're my auntie. So y'all didn't know.
Yes,
Right.
the power of the Hicks. Yeah.
Um, so with that, I want to talk a little bit about like how you're living. I know that you're living with MS,
Hmm.
and want to know a little bit about um like what were some of the signs that you had, and also like how has that affected your career?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so first of all, having MS is challenging. The thing about it is it's like a hit and miss condition. It comes and goes, in my opinion. Like it never goes. Truly, you live with it. But for me, I deal with it when it comes. I don't usually fly the banner all the time. I like to live with it in the background. But I
Right.
am so open to talking about it whenever it becomes necessary. And for me, like my very, very first symptoms at that time in my life, I had so many stressors on
Mhm.
me. At that time in my life, when it first, came to be, um, my grandmother that raised me house caught on fire and she ended up having to live with me. She was bedridden. So I was taking care of her hand and foot and trying to go to work.
Yeah.
I also was going through a breakup. My father also had lymphoma at the time, and he went into a crisis and had to go into the hospital. So he was in John Muir Hospital in the ICU. So now we're dealing with him in the ICU, my grandmother living with me, and I'm waiting on her hand and foot. And then my maternal grandmother had a stroke and I'm going through this breakup and I'm trying to manage, that gets big. And so I'm trying to manage my own personal emotions and trying to manage family issues. And one day I was at the salon and I was like, why are my toes numb? Like two of my toes were just numb. And so long story short, over a course of 4 days, I went from having two numb toes to basically being paralyzed from my waist down.
Oh, no.
I was in a wheelchair. I could not walk. I was diagnosed paraplegic. I couldn't use the bathroom on my own. I couldn't, they were, and I was going through physical therapy to prepare me for a life of living in a wheelchair. I
Mm.
was 20, this all happened the weekend of my 26th birthday. So I'm 26 years old. I'm basically about to be a paraplegic because they don't know how much better I'm going to get or if I'm going to get better. So my brain was like fried trying to get to the idea of how I was going to live life like this.
Right.
Um, my parents, were non-functional. My mother passed away, dad sick. Um, my grandmother needing me to take care of her. Um, I didn't have a husband. I didn't have children. I'm just thinking, oh shit, like this is bad. But at the same time, my brain just was like, okay, well, is something wrong with your legs? So nothing wrong with your arms. So we're gonna get a special chair. We're gonna get an assistant. We're gonna whatever. I just started going like into survival mode of how can I make this work for me? you know, I
Right.
started focusing on what wasn't wrong with me as opposed to what was wrong with me. Because when I started thinking about what was wrong with me, that was like a dark alley at night. Woo, you know. And I actually my father did pass away. We were in the hospital at the same time. He passed away while I was in hospital.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was to say I was stressed out. I mean, it was beyond. Um, but I um I actually started to improve faster than the doctors thought. And they ended up letting me go home on a walker with a wheelchair for, getting around in a lot of other spaces. But over time, going to outpatient therapy, I was able to regain my ability to walk and go back to work full time. I've never been able to stand up full time doing hair. I do most things sitting down. I've had an assistant for years. Those things were helpful in helping me sustain my life as a stylist. But, um, there's pain issues that go with that. I have a lot of back problems. So being a hairstylist, which is so physical, and having to live with a condition like this, has not been easy, has definitely been challenging. I basically have to always modify, think outside the box as to how I'm going to get things done, ask for help, which is
Right.
not the easiest thing to do, but it's what I had to do, and I did it. And I'm proud of myself for staying in my career through all the pain, through all the setbacks. At that time, I was diagnosed transverse myelitis. It wasn't diagnosed MS, but years later, I had another flare up that affected my eyesight and also affected my right side, which made my right side weaker, and my vision in my right eye is not normal. So that at that time they actually did the official diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, and since then I've had multiple relapses. I've had to
Mhm.
walk on walkers. I have a cane. Sometimes I need it, sometimes I don't. But I'm um, I'm just glad after that happened when I was 26. I'm 40. I'll be 45 this year. So to have lived with that and been able to stay in my career and make the pivots necessary
Right.
to sustain has been amazing. I'm really proud of myself. And I encourage anybody, when something comes and it looks like it's going to, it's just a challenge. It looks like it's going to take you out of where you're at or where you want to be. It's just a challenge. You
Right.
know, you just think around it.
Right. And I'm proud of you too. Like some of the things that I heard you say was basically like you chose to live, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people could have heard that diagnosis and seen what they were going through and decided not, right? They could have decided you could have decided like you were just going to sit there and not do anything. You could have decided to go towards any other direction, but you decided to pick yourself up and figure it out, right? And
Right.
sometimes we have to do that. Like a lot of times, um, people, and it all depends, right? But I feel like for me, this is like how I am as well. Um, some people have to stop, but other people have to keep going. And
Mm.
it's not a sign that you are not processing what is going on, but it is that physicality that allows you to stay in, I forget what I call it, but like there's a lower vibration and a higher vibration, but sometimes you got to meet yourself in the middle so that
Mm.
you won't be in a lower space, and meeting yourself in the middle just allows you to be in the moment of like a space of things are going wrong, all that stuff, but also in um kind of sort of touching the higher vibrations which allow you to stay afloat, right? And
Right.
sometimes we have to work through that space in order to really get yourself even stabilized to be able to deal what is going on and be able to
Mm.
take those steps towards moving forward, right?
Right.
So I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy that you did choose that. Um, and it's just amazing. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Um, and let's see, we touched on a lot of things already. Um, so you talked about your parents. I want
Mm.
to know, like, tell me about that. Tell me about what was it like for you growing up.
Growing up, so I will tell you, I feel very blessed to know that I grew up feeling very loved, but I was loved. I never felt unloved because I had my grandmother. But I mean, she made sure I felt loved, but it was amidst a lot of chaos. Our house was chaotic. Um, so if I choose, it's like if I draw a line down the middle And then I look on this side and I look at my childhood. I go, gosh, my childhood was so great. It was amazing. It was this and that. And then there's this other side
Mm-hmm.
that was like, oh my God, my childhood was so horrible. It was so chaotic. It was so damaging. Like literally coexisting.
Yeah.
It's crazy um, how that could be, because most people they will pick a side. But
Mm-hmm.
I really can see how my childhood was both ways. Um, my mom went into a coma before I was even a year old, and she stayed that way till I was like in the fourth grade and about 9 years old, and she passed away in that coma. And when I was little, they used to take me to see her at the convalescent hospital. And I one day was like, I don't want to go no more because I was tired of showing up to see her, and all she could do was stare. She
Yeah.
had nothing. She couldn't talk. Couldn't move. She just looked older and older every year. It got to be like, depressing.
Yeah.
Um, and she ended up passing away in that coma. Meanwhile, I had my father, who I lived with my father's mother, which is, kind of the opposite. A lot of people live with or a lot of grandchildren are raised by the mother's, mother. But I
Yeah.
was with my father's mother. And I do believe that was the best place for me to be because my grandmother was so bomb. Like she really, really like worked on me as a person, trying to make sure I had good self-esteem, trying to make sure um, I was flourishing in school, trying to make sure of all those things. But the flip side is my grandmother was also a codependent.
Mm-hmm.
So through her acting out her codependent tendencies with my father, who also lived in the house, who also was not a father, he was like having a drug addicted older brother that would never move out and just was always there causing trouble,
Yeah.
always there stealing, always there taking, just taking things that didn't belong to him, keeping up drama. I'll even tell you a quick story. One time I was pretty little. My grandma, it was the end of the month. We had no money. We had to go somewhere. My grandmother made a pot of beans. You know how that pot of beans was stretched. So she made this pot of beans like, this is what we gonna eat for these next few days till I get my check, because she was retired. My dad came in trying to, twist her arm, not like physically, but just trying to
Right.
pressure her for money. He's causing problems, ranting, raving, cussing, yelling, walking around the house. And she's like, I don't have anything to give you. So we ended up leaving out the house. When we came back, literally my dad, he took the pot of beans and he had thrown it, and there was beans all the way down the wall, all over the floor, all over the counter, like the pot of beans that my grandma made to feed us for the next few days.
Right.
And my eye, like, there are very few times I can tell you I saw my grandma cry, but she was like emotional because she's like, how am I gonna feed this? Like, now, being an adult now, I understand addiction a lot better, and so I don't have really an angry, but it's like you still look at that and say, how could you make things difficult for your mother who was taking care of your child? Like, you can't contribute, but how do you take,
Yeah.
but you know so that's just an example of the type of crazy chaotic things that went on a regular basis in our household. And he wasn't the only addict. It was my uncle, my aunt. So we had a lot of cuckoo. So we
Yeah.
had a lot of cuckoo with all the addicts, and and I'm just there trying to be good. I don't want to cause no problems because everybody else is causing all these problems, and I'm just trying to be good. So, which is also kind of damaging, whether people know it or not, to be forced into a situation where, I mean, not saying that I desire to be bad, but I don't, you can't really be yourself. It's like you're always just trying to not cause trouble, which
Yeah.
leads you sometimes to not speak up for yourself. You carry those kind of things into adulthood. Um, it kind of causes you to, kind of be in the background a little bit, that's so unhealthy. Those things are unhealthy. But yeah, me not having functional parents, I did have a very great grandmother, but she had her own issues, which I urge everybody to look at their parents in that light, because we oftentimes could get pissed and go, well, they didn't do this for me and they never was this and they da 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 da. But most people were parented by broken people, and most people were, most of these parents, they were trying to raise kids through their own shit, you know? And so we have a lot more resources now, and mental health and all these issues are more talked about now. Years ago, they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the internet, and they didn't have as much support as we do to be more open. They just dealt with life. So I'm not angry at my father, I'm not angry at my mother. I still express it because it's nothing that could make me not wonder what it would have felt like to be raised by my parents. There's nothing that could make me not wonder, but I have grown to not be upset by it any longer. And I'm thankful for my grandmother. So me growing up with my parent without my parents, um, that definitely probably, I'm sure it affected like my adult relationships, romantic relationships. I do notice my dad went to prison a lot when I was younger. I dated men who went to prison a lot. Um, it was almost comfortable in a way. You know what I mean? And there's certain amount of abandonment that's built into that. Having your dad in the house but not contributing to your parenting, I mean to parenting you at all. It's like he's absent but still there, like emotionally unavailable type situation. I
Right.
can totally see that in a lot of my relationships, the type of guys that I tended to deal with, especially in my earlier years. Sometimes I still got to catch myself.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
I love that. It's crazy. Because I got a couple things that I want to unpack in there. One for y'all who are just hopping on. This is my auntie. So her dad is my grandpa, and it's my first time hearing any stories about him. He died before. Well, not before. I met him like one time before he passed, and it was like real quick. I don't remember much, but it's funny because as you were talking, I see a lot of similarities from him and my dad, and I also see a lot of similarities from both of them and my brother.
Mm,
And of course, addiction does run in both sides of my family. But as far as it goes to like how you were speaking about like that abandonment and stuff like that, like I see that in them, right? And instead
mm,
of being able to express themselves, I talked to my dad a lot before he passed, right? My dad
mm,
was absent throughout my life, but the times that we did spend together, we shared a lot. And as I got older, I was able to actually express myself and ask him some questions. I I didn't get all the answers that I wanted before he passed,
mm.
but I got to understand him a little bit better, right? And
Right.
why he did what he did, and the fact that like he didn't even understand himself, and he was dealing with anxiety and dealing with abandonment issues from his father, and having all these other issues that came with it, and only knowing how to cope in one way because that was the way that was taught to him because he
Mm,
grew up around addiction, right?
right.
And even to his last days, just being like because he had stopped for a while and then started again and being like I don't know how to stop, like I don't know, I just don't know, right? And
Mm,
I see that with my younger brother. I see that with a lot of people in my family, that our parents are a problem, right? A lot
mm,
of people, when you talk about it, they don't want you to, oh, don't say that that's your mom. Oh, don't say that that's your dad. No, but it's the truth. Our
mm,
the way we grew up, our environment is our problem. And it all
Mm-hmm.
becomes, I won't say our characteristics, but it becomes a part of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is only up to us to take that and be willing and also in a space to heal that, right? Because everybody's not in that space. You have to be in a space to be ready and open to unlock all of that pain and all of the, generational trauma and all that stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be in that space, and not everybody is ready for that. So happy that I'm ready for that. I'm so happy for you, because I know that you are also on a journey yourself of self love and acceptance. And you said that, like, these characteristics show up in your relationships romantically, but I would also like to know, like, how do you think they show up in your personal relationships? Because I did this exercise one time with this woman, and she had us like fold the paper in half and
Mm-hmm.
write your mother and write your father on one side, and then write all the characteristics of them, right? Like how they act, all the things that you've seen, right? And then make a list of like all your partners, and then make a list of all their characteristics, and then like, different people that are pertinent in your life. And if you look at all the characteristics, you can see your parents in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know for me, like, when it comes to people, like, I don't know, I don't attract, but the thing that I'm attracted to, well, used to be, was people that abandoned me, right? Because
Right.
that's what I used to. I didn't want it, but I expected that. So
Mm-hmm.
even me expecting that, that's something that I attracted, right? So when you think back and like look at the people in your life, or um, just the relationships that you've had, what are some characteristics that you've seen, and some characteristics that you're like you set a boundary for?
Okay, so I know that I have dealt with you talking about people in general or like just like more romantic
People in general.
people in general. I think that I attract needy people. I think that's so for me, the mother role, my grandmother and my mom would share that, right? So my mom, as far as my mom goes, that what I looked at or how I used to feel is like, oh, she chose her drug of choice over raising her kids, because I was the youngest of six kids and pretty much none of us got raised by her. Maybe some of them for small periods of time. So my grandmother would have the bigger part because she would be that part. And so she definitely put the codependency on me. And as I got older and I learned what codependency was, um, I began to work on that. I bought books. I had a therapist, which, I know a lot of people, they look down on seeking out therapists. Now, later, these days, it's getting more like, like popular and accepted. But a lot of people was like, oh, but for me, I always thought that was a thing to do. Um, so she definitely put the codependency on me. So or I got that from her. So in my adult relationships, even as far as everything from friendships to romantic relationships, getting, try the wanting to fix people, wanting to solve everyone's problems, almost making myself sick trying to do it,
Yeah.
not being able to cope with not trying to do it. So then I had like I would flee the situation. I
Mm.
didn't know how to draw boundaries. So the balance, I've learned a lot more about boundaries. So boundaries can keep me safe and I'll be able to maintain relationships with people. But instead of drawing clear boundaries, I would just check out.
Right.
So I've left a lot of relationships because I was not capable of making good boundaries and keeping them.
Mhm.
Um, I wish I had some of the skills now that I did years ago, but it's all a process. Um, Also, people with addictions, like I don't know why, but I draw them. But like I said, now that I have better boundaries, I don't feel like I have to take them in and give them things and coach them and try to talk them into a better situation and worry constantly about them and you
Right.
know those types of things, or harm myself trying to get in the way of what's going on with them. I've learned how to assign them their shit. You know what I mean? That's their shit. This is my shit. Um, but yeah, because I remember when I left my grandma's house, I left fleeing for safety in a way. Like I didn't have to leave. My grandma didn't want me to move out. She didn't. And but for my mental health sake, I felt like I needed my own space. I didn't even move far. I literally moved up the street and around the corner. But I was like, that house came with too many things that were detrimental to me and my growth, and just I struggled with depression and all that when I was younger, and I just felt like I needed to get out. So I literally secretly um, gathered a storage full of things, and then I went and moved. I moved out, and I got my own space. Well, I functioned similarly, I think, in relationships when it got really, really, really like hard, or it was encroaching on my peace too much. Instead of drawing a line and not allowing people to come that far into my peace, um, I didn't know how to do that. So I just cut it off, you
Yeah.
know? And I'm not, that's just how I learned to function. It was that fight or flight thing. I
Yeah.
had flight down pat. You know what I mean? I know how to fly.
Yeah.
I know how to get out of there. I know how to get out the way of hurt or drama or whatever. But the problem is you can't build your life you can't build your life cutting everybody off.
Right.
You can't do that. So I have learned over the years to create boundaries and stand and be able to stand my ground and still be there and still love you. And if you don't accept that, then that's fine.
Right.
And I've been in actually some relationships I feel like have gotten saved that way, you know,
Right.
and elevated, you
Right.
know. So I feel like that's some of the major ways that yes. And then also, like I said, I learned how not to, like, growing up in the house trying to be good, I learned how not to stir the pot. You don't want to, you don't
Mm.
want to shake the boat, you
Right.
just, so I would be cool as long as I could. And then when I can't take it no more, once again, flight, instead of being like, nah, shake the boat, see if it sinks, see if it float. If it float, we still good, I didn't
Right.
know how to do that. But I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
40, about to be 45 years old, still learning,
And we gonna keep learning. That's the whole
hmm
point of us being here, right? And
hmm
every evolution takes a new level of learning. And what you said reminded me of, like, I call it the savior and the flea.
hmm
So basically, when you have these relationships, um, in your early childhood, like the people that raised you and stuff like that, you either become the savior of them or you become the flea. So you attract relationships where you can either save the person, right?
hmm
Because they somehow you're trying to save that person that raised you. Or you
hmm
flea where it's like, oh, I see these characteristics and I don't want anything to do with them, right? And
Right.
the middle ground, which is actually the healthy space, right, is our
Right.
boundaries. And
Right.
like I've seen a post on Instagram that says like my boundaries is not um to keep you out, is to actually keep you in, and that
hmm
is 100% true. Like our boundaries is our safe space, right? And if
hmm
you respect me and if you love me, then in this space I need these things. And
hmm
cross these things that I've set in place, then we have to talk. And if you
Right.
expect that, then you have to go, right?
Right.
Because in this space, this is all I got for you, right? This is all
Right. Right.
It don't feel good when you're not doing that, right? And we got to put our 1 second, baby. What? Oh, okay. Well, okay, but get out. Thanks. Yeah, but in
Well,
space, it's like, yes, baby. Where's my dad? Because no, go play. She wants to be the sitter. You know, I got a kid. She the only kid up here. She just wants to be any other attention besides her. But I asked you to go play. Thank you. I love you. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I gotta put boundaries with her too. See,
right,
everything you gotta put boundaries on them. This is it. This is where we cross that line. We ain't going no further than this. Okay, don't pass go. Don't collect $200.
right.
You can't. You not about to penetrate this forest, kid. You're not about to penetrate this forest. I got like it's very extremely important to have our boundaries set in place because that is where we're able to allow people to come in and we start taking a back seat to our own lives. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this person did this to me or this person did that to me. And a lot of times we get triggered, right? And it's not
Mm-hmm.
even a boundary, but we get triggered. And then
Mm-hmm.
we run away from these people and we don't even know that this is just a moment that this person did something that we remember, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
familiar. And they don't know that it's familiar to you. They're just living their life being the person that they are. And we end friendships, we end relationships, we end all these things because of the familiarity. And we haven't done the work to get to the bottom of, oh, I remember this. I know what this
Yeah.
is. Hey, let me talk to you. I really just don't like when people do this, right? You know, it
Right.
something for me. I would appreciate if you didn't do that, right? And we
Right.
don't have the tools to understand and be able to articulate that, right? That have the
Mm-hmm.
emotional intelligence to be able to articulate how I'm feeling in this moment. And it takes work. It's not like a one day thing and you're just gonna be telling everybody, right? It takes work
Yeah.
to be like, I don't
It
want
does
to
take
like this
work.
no more and I just don't want to take this no more. Let me practice on you, and if I can do it for you, I can probably do it for you, and I can probably do it for you, and I can probably do it for you. I failed yesterday, but I'm gonna do it today. Like you know what I'm saying? It takes
Yeah.
work and it's an exercise. It's another muscle. We got so many muscles in our body that we aren't exercising. Boundaries are one, and it's one of the most important ones.
It is definitely one of the most important ones. I also feel that children, I think, naturally have good boundaries because they know what doesn't don't feel good to them,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes they are encouraged out of their boundaries, and
Right.
over time, because people don't talk to them and they dismiss them and they dismiss their feelings and they tell them you should or shouldn't feel that way, and then they're forced to love, like, respect people who and I'm not saying children should just be allowed to run amok, but I think that's an area where people have to be careful because over time they can be very much coached out of their boundaries, and then when they grow up it's like a free-for-all, everybody run over me.
Good now. Go.
And yeah, and it's cool. I like that savior and the flea. I like that terminology because literally, like, I can explain it, but I didn't have like clean cut terminology to put that,
Yeah.
but that's exactly it. Because like you said, trying to save that parent through these relationships,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what I found happening. I actually had read some stuff about that, and I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense because I would find myself recreating my father and even parts of my grandmother in my home. And I remember I always would I promised myself, like, I'm never gonna recreate my childhood in my adult relationships. This is when I'm young, right? Or in my home. I don't want that same household. But yet over time, I kept recreating it, right? Why am I doing this? But probably because, okay, if I can help this person get clean, if I can help this person do better, if I can help them be more um, productive, if I could just, I'm gonna just stay around and help them, and it all goes back to me trying to heal my father.
Right.
whom I loved, and didn't know how to express that at that time because I was hurt, So thank you for that terminology. I'm gonna use that.
You're welcome. Yeah, and now I want to talk a little bit about, like, I know that you've been through abusive relationships. You know, I've been through abusive relationships. That's a part of the reason, well, it's not part of the sole reason why I went to prison. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, how you overcame that. Like, what steps are you taking um in your self-care journey to,
Mhm.
like, heal from that? Because I know, like, they say, I forget how many years, I believe like 15 years, like, it actually takes your body to get um reacclimated from being in a abusive relationships.
Yeah. So okay, so let me say this. I never actually was physically abused. Everybody, all the ones that I had they were verbal assault assassins. Like, they were professionals at this shit. They knew how to make you feel bad, pick on your worst attributes. They know how to be slick with the tongue, slide it in, like or I had people that were trying to be controlling. I had people that just, like, mind games, like narcissistic, like gaslighting type of, make you feel like you crazy, second guess your own thought processes, things like all of that. And so,
But before
like,
you continue, I just want to let you know and just reaffirm, like, you don't have to be physically abused to be in an abusive relationship, and that is just as harmful.
just as harmful, because you can't unplay a record in your head, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and things, they revisit you. You can, like, sometimes like, if I think back, I can still hear the voice of the person who said the things that they said
Yeah.
to make me um feel, or to, I don't know, I don't like saying that people made me feel a certain way, but that, I mean, I don't know, but yeah. And so I would say that the first thing, like, I did put up with it for a period of time. But like I said, my grandma, she really worked hard. One thing I didn't deal with at home was um, being called out my name, and like, just direct verbal abuse and stuff like that. So that was a clear line for me. Like, some things I didn't have clear lines for. For me, that was clearly not okay. So I did put up with certain things for a period of time, but it was easy for me to know that that wasn't acceptable. So at some point, I definitely just got out of that. But like I said, you can't, like, unring a bell. So, some of the things people said to me, like, I remember I was with this one guy, and he just said, "Oh, I can't wait to put you on my my medical benefits, because the first thing we're gonna do is get that gap fixed." That's the first thing I see every time you open your mouth. Look, my pearls,
Yeah.
because up to that point, I never felt no kind of way about my gap in my teeth. It's a part of me. I can't even imagine my smile without it.
Right.
So to have somebody just directly, the person that, first of all, he and I were engaged, we were living together, like, and just to have, he just started picking at me. He just started doing stuff to just, like, little by little, just pick me down. And sometimes those things they're like micro
Mm-hmm.
attacks, you know. And so this one was blatant, though. That was just straight up. And I remember that, just that alone made me very self-conscious about my smile. And I know for years I actually probably didn't smile with a full smile and show
Yeah.
my teeth, probably for some years, until, like, I had to force myself to start, like, really smiling again. And or when I looked at my pictures, I go directly to that, because, and
Right.
then I started even looking up getting braces and stuff, and then I just had to be like, no, 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 no. You never had a problem with this before. So
Yeah.
this definitely came from that situation, and we're not going to let him be the deciding factor on what you do with yourself. But it didn't just magically go away. It took time. It took years. It took a lot of years of me reinforcing to myself that there was nothing wrong with my smile. And
Right.
then when people complimented my smile, me actually believing them, me actually giving validation and weight to their compliments, and even just how I felt about myself versus what this one individual had to say about me. You know, it a lot of it, I don't think it, a lot of that stuff, undoing the verbal attacks, the things people say to tear you down, it's not a magical process, it's work. You
Mm-hmm.
have to, now you have to, things you never even thought about before, you have to actually think about them, and you have to actually say to yourself, no, that's beautiful, no, that's, you're still intelligent. I had a man tell me I had a kindergarten brain. I said, who are you, in my head,
Yeah.
because I actually was sitting there thinking he was finna knock my head off, because he threatened to smash me in the face with a Snapple bottle. you know so, like, a glass Snapple bottle just really had me cornered in a car. And I was just like, how can I say, I know that I'm a strong person, but I could never imagine, it was almost like it wasn't real.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like removed from the situation, like I was watching it on a movie,
Right.
in a way. It was like some Lifetime movie shit. Like, am I really sitting here dealing with this? And I've been in these situations more than once, and I know at each time there came a point when I would look at myself in the mirror and I wouldn't even be able to see myself. Like, I would look at myself, but it was almost like I could see through myself. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know how to explain it. Like I was a ghost of myself. And I,
Disassociation.
huh?
Disassociation.
Yeah, it was so weird. And then I was like, who are you that you are allowing this? And so I remember each time I came to a point where I couldn't put up with it anymore. I was done giving chances, and I just, picked up my jacks and got away. It wasn't always easy. I had been stalked. I had 800 text messages, letters under my door at my salon, text messages saying, I've been watching you at night, getting in your car, making sure you're safe, like, little, like, with little, like, innuendos of threats, and little stuff like that. And so I even left my house. I owned a house. I never went back to that house because I was scared to live by myself. And I just left it and got an apartment. I owned that house. I haven't even owned a house ever since, but I, like, literally left my own house. Once again, that's that flight.
Yeah.
Instead of putting whatever in place to keep myself safe, I just moved, you know. So, like, over time, um, it just took a lot of, like you said, self care. I do a lot of things to self care for myself. Um, I will take myself out in a minute. I will take myself on a vacation in a minute. I will treat myself nice in a minute, because I feel like I deserve that. I feel like we all deserve that. And we often wait for other people to do for us things that we can do for ourselves. Like, oh, no one has ever bought me flowers. Well, have you ever bought yourself flowers?
Right.
You know, journaling is also, a really good thing. I write, I do a lot of poetry. Poetry and short stories have become a good way for me to help go back through things that I've been through, to and put them on paper and take them out of my head and
Right.
make them more tangible. And I can do what I want with them. I can share them. I can throw them away. I usually never throw them away, though. I like to share. Um, I feel like, I'm a really transparent person. I don't care. I'll talk about anything about myself. Um, but yeah, um it's just putting one foot in front of the other. Sometimes all you need is time. Sometimes the further you get away from the situation, you just you naturally begin to feel better, but there is still work, because you don't want to revisit that. Because I revisited those type of situations many times, and like I said, now, I have to catch myself, like, no, 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 we're not even going to go down that road. You see those red flags, they're there. They're there. you
Right.
know yeah, so that's just, where I'm at now. I just try to take the best care of myself and do all the things for myself that I used to wait for people to do.
Right.
You know.
And that's beautiful. Like you said, red flags don't feel like Six Flags, no matter how much Instagram want to put it on. Like that hurt. You be knowing, and it don't
Yeah.
feel good at all. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because narcissists and people with manipulative behaviors usually have um, two sides of them, right? And then they have the parts of them that they show to their group of friends and family and stuff like that, and then the part of the people who are more intimate with them. And I feel, just me personally, from my own experience and observations, that it's an energy thing, right? So
Mm,
once you're in their energy, you are able to more identify the manipulative behavior that is happening.
mm,
And people who are not so much in their space, they can see it, but it's like, oh, whatever. Like, they can brush it off more easily than you being in their intimate space and then being able to feed off of what they're doing, because now it's affecting you because you're in their actual energy field, right? Um,
mm,
and a lot of times it makes you feel crazy because you feeling like you're alone. They're able to have people, around that could vouch for them being a good person, and you like, this person is not a good person. It's like all these things are happening to you, but you feel like you alone in this one little space. So it actually do make you feel crazy because now you're feeling like, oh, if I say something, someone is going to counteract me with something that has nothing to do with what I have got going on, right? I'm telling you that this person is doing all this, and now I look crazy because y'all don't see it, right? And like narcissists, they feed off of that. So, and
mm,
also I want to say that you were not fleeing in that situation of your home. You were protecting yourself.
mm,
So don't ever look at it like you were doing anything less than, because there's no telling what anybody could do at any point. But they were making it blatantly clear that they were in your space and
mm,
willing to do you harm, whether it was physical or just mental, and
mm,
deserve to be in a safe space. Um, so yeah, it's crazy because I know I dealt with it. I dealt with it throughout my pregnancy. Like I said, it's the reason why I was incarcerated. I feel like there is not enough awareness or protection around manipulative behavior, because throughout my journey, even from when I got into like jail, people would hear my story or hear my case and stuff like that, and women will come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, like, that's not what I'm here for, but I've been through this. And I feel like, especially the emotional and spiritual abuse, been way worse for me because, like, one woman, she came there and she was drunk, right? That's the whole reason why she started going to jail, because she started drinking alcohol. Well, the
mm,
man that she was being abused by, she started drinking alcohol because he was a narcissist and an abuser, and it spiraled her life downhill, right? And even she was saying like that emotional abuse, because it sticks with you, right? It's in
mm,
your head. You feel alone. You feel like you're the only person. You feel misunderstood. You feel like you can't even trust your own self, your own judgment, right? And that takes work to get out of that space to where you're always second guessing yourself, right? Um,
mm,
I found for me, I don't know if anybody else on this call or whatever this live, if you're going to be watching this, I really don't care, but I'm about to tell y'all anyway. I started learning astrology, right? And as I started learning astrology as it pertains to who I am, I learned more about like what my sign actually means, and being like a Gemini, being a mutable sign, having also fixed signs in there. I stay, if it comes to a relationship, any relationship, this is any situation, because I'm an overcomer just like you. I feel like being a mutable sign and being a fixed sign, that allows me to stay in situations longer than I'm supposed to, right?
mm,
And before hearing that, I didn't understand. Like, I literally, before I read it, and learned about that, I was telling my friend, like, you know, like I just be getting over stuff. Like what, like it is what it is. I'm just gonna get over it. But no, now that I know, and the more information you have about yourself, right? Well, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
be astrology, but just doing the work to do the inner work and understanding yourself more and more, and understanding your history, you start to understand like, oh, this is why this happened to me. That allowed me to open my eyes to now when I have situations where I'm just like, I know I should be leaving this, and I know that, you know, mutable sign in me is about to try and make an excuse for why I need to stay in this space. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
move past that, and I'm going to do it anyway, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not staying stuck in a situation that I don't need to be in because of something that is just a part of my nature. And it can
Right.
I can use that to my benefit, but I can also use that to my detriment. And being self-aware allows me to choose which one that I want to use it for.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and it does that. That doesn't mean it has. I can apply that to anything. It doesn't have to be just astrology. Like when I started to learn about, or start to actually stop using my self sabotage as an excuse. My mother used to take things away from me, so I have an unhealthy fear of success. Once I start being successful or something, I want to move on to the next thing because that means it can be taken away from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm aware of that, and I'm actually, instead of just using that, it is what it is. I am who I am, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking the front seat to my life, and I'm in the driver's seat. I'm being intentional now. Oh, that's coming up. I feel like in my business, like I know it's going good, but maybe I just could do something. You know, when I start feeling that feeling, now I know, like, nah, you tripping. Keep and we about to
Keep
see what's about to
going.
happen in this next step, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
allows me to not be in the moment of my trigger and move past it to see what it feels like on the other side. Because a lot of times we get stuck in that trigger, we get stuck in that moment, we get stuck on, you know, not understanding what is happening. And again, that self-awareness allows you to move forward past those moments. And this goes
Right.
for like healing, all that stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that was a little rant, but I just
No,
had to say
girl.
that because
Get the
that's like a
information
really
up.
big, like, being unable to be who you are, right? And that goes for like being in a relationship that's not healthy for you, being in a job that's not healthy for you, just living your life. And like you said, as a child, you weren't able to express yourself, and still bringing that into adulthood, um, that stagnates you from your evolution,
Mm-hmm.
right? It stagnates you from becoming and fulfilling your mission here. And you always going to feel unfulfilled because you cannot express yourself wholly. And we all deserve to be able to express ourselves wholly,
Right.
right? So
Right.
thank you for sharing that. This is good. This conversation is good, y'all. So I wanted to know, like, where are you now emotionally?
Emotionally now, I feel like I feel like I'm in a good space. I do still experience certain voids, but I allow them to be there. Sometimes I've learned to verbalize them. I've learned to acknowledge them and let them exist and not try to fill them by, oh, I'm lonely. Because, you could pull a man out the sky. You could pull, for me, I think food was a big challenge, has been a big challenge, still is you know, over the years. And so I could pull a cake out the sky. I could pull a big platter of Chinese food out the sky. I
Amen.
never, I never been like a real big. I'm not a smoker. I've never been a big drinker. I think I shy away from substances due to how they affected my life. But I definitely had other things that I used to plug holes in my life,
Yeah.
workaholism, overeating, different things like that. So um, now I'm learning more I have learned to vocalize the void and let it be there. And it's okay. You don't have to actually fill that with something. I don't have to overwork myself. I don't have to entertain um bad relationships. I don't have to, do some of the practices that I used to do that I didn't even identify as that at that time. I didn't know.
Hmm.
And so for me, that's a huge thing. And like I said, like for me, the self and self love is really, really big. And people use the word self love like loosely because they think self love is like, oh, because I dress cute, and oh, because I love myself. It's not just about it's not about looking a certain way. It is, but that's part of it because if you feel like being with your hair standing up in a muumuu and laying and just being lazy for the day, if that's how you truly feel and you're good in that, then that's okay. But
Right.
if you're doing that as a way to hide from life and push people away and sulk or whatever, then you have to learn to recognize that. So for me, the components of self-love come with like self-care, which are the little things we do to just make sure that we are okay, financially, spiritually, mentally, things like that. Also, self awareness. I try to be really self aware. I've noticed in my life nowadays, the mirror shows up fast for me. Just the other day, I was laughing at myself because I went through the Starbucks drive through. The person in front of me had to be ordering groceries. I don't know what was going on, but it was taking extremely long. I had to go somewhere. And I just kind of like blew up, like, what's going on here? Right?
Right.
So then the next day, and my friend that was with me was like, ooh, right? So the next day, I'm driving down the street and I hear some guy like going off, and I was like, ooh, he going, like, what the hell he going off for? Probably ain't ever get a deal. And then immediately that prior day, it just dropped into my spirit. Like, remember you was having that day yesterday?
Yeah.
And immediately my judgment exited. And that's happening to me more and more. Like I see myself or something I've done in other people and their behaviors, and I'm thankful for that because it allows me to be self-aware. It allows me to remove judgments. It allows me to just check in with myself to see where I'm at. And also not to beat myself up over certain things that I do, because I might do something and be like, but it's really just human,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we might need to check ourselves, but at least to check yourself. And so self-awareness is like really, really big. I try to check in with myself often and sometimes I can't even avoid it. Like I said, that mirror will show up fast, like, hey girl,
Right.
and self-respect, just all kinds of things of the self that are encapsulated in self-love. Self-love is not just this one thing, it's all these little pieces. And so that's where I'm at. I'm just like focusing on just being okay, with what is. Like I said, acknowledging the voids, letting them be there, being grateful, having gratitude, looking around me and just realizing that love comes from so many different places. And as long as we make this one thing, because I know for a lot of us, it may be not having a partner or wanting this relationship or whatever, and then we can blow that part of our life out of proportion and totally disrespect and um like just undervalue the other forms of love that are in our life. So when you flip it and you assign the value to every form of love and you really put that one type of like that romantic love in its place, you can have the gratitude for all these other type of loves and you can actually feel them.
Right.
Because a lot of times we have this one thing missing and we totally disregard everything else. We got kids around us showing us love, pets around us showing us love. We got just even being able to look in the sky and see the various colors of green in the trees, and the brilliance of what has been created,
Right.
all those things, they all give off love, and energy, and you can actually wrap yourself in all of that. And oftentimes that's so for me, I just gratitude, you know and that's just big. And emotionally, I have my days, but for the most part, I'm in good space and I'm thankful.
And I'm thankful for you because that you got me with that coping one. Because, baby, look, I suffer from depression sometimes, and got PMDD, which is a hormonal imbalance. And let me see, I can manifest a cake too. Yes. Go out of here real quick. I was like, I could have swore I just could fit these clothes, but
Real quick, right?
right.
Like, where
That's
that
like
come from?
one of the things that I am working on in my journey. I have a lot of other self love tools in my toolkit. Have yet to figure out um, yet right now, especially this last one. This last one hit me in a different way. I think it was a good because I didn't understand that I was actually depressed, and it was actually just all those past years. It allowed me to purge, right?
Uh-huh.
That didn't mean that it had to pack on the pounds with it, but it allowed me to purge emotionally, and I'm really excited, like, because that also has opened me up to like restart my journey of physical self
Right.
love, right? And I'm excited for that, and I think it's beautiful when you are able to recognize all the things in your life that is going well despite of all any little things that are going bad, right? And it's
Right.
always little in the grand scheme of things because in reality, um no matter how bad it is, like we have a lot of things that go right in our life, right? Every single day.
Right.
Like a lot of itty bitty little things that we not even paying attention to, that we don't even know, like could have got in a car accident today, could have, but got stopped, a lot of things you was late, but you don't know what would have happened if you was on time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of little things that we ain't even thankful for, um that are sometimes a blessing in disguise. Like I said, I didn't
Mm.
ask to be in that deep of a depression, but it was a
Right.
blessing in disguise because it allowed me to to become somebody that I wanted to become. Like I asked for it, I wasn't very specific, but I got exactly what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it was because of that, and I could look at it and these little bit of pounds, we're gonna call them little, these little bit of pounds, but it was really a blessing because in that space it allowed me to grow. Um, so I really love that, and I wanted to read an excerpt for this book that I just found. I just learned a new word today, y'all, and I'm really excited about it. It's called
Okay.
P, and it is the measure of disorder or uselessness, and it just means that it's the process that stalls or declines when something is walled off from the outside world, right? And it reminded me of something that I don't know if y'all know David Shands, but he's an entrepreneur, podcast guru, or whatever. But I watch his show a lot, and I was just watching it yesterday, and he said something that was very similar to that. That someone left to their own devices, basically, will cause destruction, right? And so
Mm.
it's like without for him, it's community. So he needs a community, or else his mind gonna start rumbling, and he gonna start just doing stuff, right? Um,
Right.
so, and I know for like me, if I'm not practicing my self love, if I'm not being very conscious of and self-aware of myself, I can, go back to my old habits of, isolating and allowing my abandonment to
Mm-hmm.
um what's that called, like, just not see clearly, right? um
Mm-hmm.
so what is that for you? Like, what is on the other side of that wall, right? Because I know we all create a wall for us that is like encompasses the things that we are not very good at, right? And then on
Mm-hmm.
the side of that, we need community, we need people, we need. So, what are those things that you need that's on the other side of this entropy?
Um, for me, I think, well, definitely like community and stuff like that. But for me, I think it's family. Like, I don't think I put as much energy into forming and building and maintaining or cultivating relationships with family. Just, through my experiences, family became unsafe, became an unsafe space. So I think unconsciously I undervalued family. Unconsciously, I don't think family is not valuable, but family was always a threat growing up. The people in my house, in my life. So I didn't want people in my house if they weren't a certain way. Or I didn't make a big deal out of, family, like I said, cultivating relationships and stuff like that. Um, or trying hella hard to hold on to them. I lost my mom early, lost my dad early, lost my granny early. Pretty much lost almost everybody so early. Not everybody, but all the um, parental care, like the initial figures in your life. I lost them also early, and I didn't have people to try to, how can I put it, keep those things together. And I guess I didn't necessarily consider it my job. And so now later in life, as those walls come down, I've tried to do better with reaching out or trying to keep track of. I actually have a lot of family, and you're one. You're one of those families, family members. And it's like, and it's hard though, like when you don't grow up with somebody or you don't have them already, it is a different experience trying to connect with people, because they might as well be the person at the grocery store. You just know you're related to them, you know what I mean? So you have to put an extra effort into it. But now that I'm older, I find that that's more important. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't think a lot about it. So I feel like for me, family specifically was on the other side of that wall, you know. Um, and I'm sure other things like mm, relationships might still be on the other side of that wall. They might have just got on the other side of that wall recently, within the last few years after that last breakup I had. That was extremely painful getting through it. So you can you can throw that type of thing on the other side of the wall, because you just don't want to experience that type of pain again should things fail.
Right.
So, but I'm aware that those are things that I want and need in my life. It's just some things are harder than others. But like I said, that I am aware of it. I actually was talking to one of my friends about that before we got online, about not necessarily the wall concept, but just knowing that there's this void that I want filled by certain things, but acknowledging it instead of just being like, no, it's okay, I don't care. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So,
Beautiful. I love that. I think I have to agree as well. So if you could look back and tell your younger self three things, what would it be?
three things. I think the first thing I would tell my younger self is, um, you are okay. You know, You are okay. You are cared for, you know. Um, I would tell my younger self that 40 years from now, you are going to love yourself for real. Like you're going to love, in spite of all that you're going to go through, it's for the good, you know. Um, because I have developed this saying where I feel like, because I'm starting, like I said, I started writing and stuff a lot, and I share it a lot, and I'm want to get I'm starting writing projects, books, and I want to even embark on some coaching and stuff like that, just getting people through certain spaces in their life, um, because I always say, if everything that I go through could help somebody else, I feel less picked on by the universe, like, so, if you don't get to use your pain or use your experiences, like, it just seems like you just got kicked down a hill for no reason. But if you get kicked down the hill and then you get to grab somebody at the bottom of the hill and y'all can help each other up, it just feels different.
Right.
So that would be one thing. And then the last thing I would tell my younger self is, it's okay not to be able to control the outcome of everything. Because I feel like that's something I struggle with my whole life, is trying to predict or guide or make certain things happen in a way that I felt safe.
Yeah.
Um, but it's okay not to control the outcome of everything. Just sometimes you could just live. It's gonna be all right. Yeah.
I love that. So, my last question, and before I let you leave us with some words, who is
Okay.
the woman that you are becoming?
The woman that I am becoming is a woman who acknowledges that she's always going to be becoming, and is not necessarily looking for to be. Like, it's okay to just be like, okay, I'm gonna just be today. I'm gonna just be. But I think we all look for a destination, and then we're like, when we get there, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's always all okay, and things are always working out for you, even when it doesn't seem that way. So the woman I'm becoming is a woman that is. I thought I was fearless until I seen a lot more fears, and I know that I may never become fearless, but I always want to practice um, acting in spite of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that can use my life to help other people. That um, I just want to be. I'm trying to look for a good way just to sum it up. Because in some ways, I don't even know completely who I'm becoming, and being okay with that. And, and knowing that I'm going to show up in myself over and over again, um, better. And sometimes it doesn't look that way, but I know that it is because of how many times that I felt bad and came out of feeling bad. Like, wow, well, that didn't kill me. This is a much better space. So I guess that's really truly it. Somebody who's just okay with becoming over and over again, and um, happy with that, and enjoying the journey, and want to have peace even in the middle of whatever, because it's that knowing that it's all going to be okay that really matters. So,
I love it. I love that. Yeah, every evolutionary period we go through, um, it's a new opportunity for us to relearn ourselves and or learn ourselves, right? Because we're going to be new people each time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful journey. You don't have to know, right? Because you're going to find out.
Right.
You go find
Right.
out. And
You gonna find out.
she is going to be beautiful. She is going to have peace. You know, she's going to have self love. She's going to have self acceptance. She's going to have all the things she needs, right? Because
Yes.
that is,
And self-acceptance is big.
yeah,
Big.
yeah, but
Hey, because I forgot that when I was saying earlier, self-acceptance. That was my other self point. But yeah, self-accept big.
yeah,
Big.
yeah,
Yep.
she's striving for. It's awesome. You know, a new moon, y'all. So it's a manifestation day. So that's what we calling in, right?
Yes.
This what's happening, and it's a beautiful journey. I'm happy to be your niece, you know, and
I'm happy
it's
that
the
you
thing.
are.
So anything you want to say and leave us with before, I end this call? Sorry, y'all, we went over, but yeah, it was long overdue.
Oh. Well, the only thing I would want to leave everybody with is you are equipped to overcome. It may not seem like it, but you are. We most of the time underuse the resources that we have, and we oftentimes look for resources outside of ourselves that we possess. Um, but we do have what it takes to get through whatever comes our way. We only touched on a few of the things that I've had to cope with, learn to live with, overcome, and still feel happy and excited about life. And life is something to be excited about. And when things do feel down or dark or lonely or sad or whatever, acknowledge those things. Give them the attention they deserve, but not more. And just know that you're not alone. When you're feeling bad, you're not alone. When you're feeling wonderful, you're not alone. You're not. There is always somebody living in that same space, and nothing is forever. Um, and if you so desire, you will find a way out of it. And just know that. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
you are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I admire you so much, niece. You just don't know. I
I
think you're just a beautiful example.
Thank you. I admire you as well. So have a great day. Um, we're gonna talk soon.
Yes,
Oh, I'm on a high. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Oh, if anybody wants to, is this recorded?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be able? Okay, so I'll be able to have a link
Mm-hmm.
to. Okay,
I'll
because
add
I got a few people.
a collaborator on it. So it'll
Okay, cool,
pop on your page.
perfect. Thank you, my love.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Oh, little, you done got big. I seen pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. Go sit down. Bye, guys.
What she say?
She wants to have her own page and be recorded too. So I told her she could record it later. She's like, "Hold up, y'all about to end?" And no, 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 we didn't say that. Not on this live.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you know what? I wanted to share can I share a poem real quick before we go?
Yes.
Okay, so my last relationship, my last official real relationship I was in, when I was coming out of that, one of my friends looked at me and said, "Oh my God, you are so triggered." And I had no idea what triggers were. So, then I had to go research it, right?
Yeah.
It took me to my 40s to learn what triggers were. I'm sure I experienced them, but had no word. You know how I said I had no word for that or no
Mm-hmm.
term? So one day a poem came to me. So it's called Triggers. And I'm gonna read this on our way out. So it might give people something to think about. Living in the past unconsciously, not knowing what the cost will be. The pain of the past, this current space. the person you love you want to replace. But little do you know that walking away won't stop your traumas from blocking your way. No matter where you are, then there you are. And so is the wound, and so is the scar. Healing yourself is nobody's work except for your own, so shovel the dirt. Carry the stones away from your heart, burn all the branches, break them apart. The family tree deserves some new roots, buried in soil and watered in truth. It's hard when home is where it began. The pain that you carry is part of a plan to help you discover and help you become, to reparent yourself and know that you've won a war with your triggers, a fight with your soul, to walk in new freedom, to own a new role of healing and teaching and love so much bigger with hope for the future. We bury our triggers. So,
I like that. I like the family tree deserves new roots. If that ain't the truth, okay, breaking these generational curses.
mhm.
Okay. Breaking generational curses and bringing in these generational wealth and generational, you know, all our generational accomplishments. Because I think we forget about that in
Right,
our, language.
right.
We want to talk about the curses, but our ancestors did some real nice things and they gave us some real nice things to move forward
Yes.
with. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for sharing space with us. I'm happy.
Well, anytime, my niece, and I will talk to you soon. Let's talk soon.
Okay, we will.
Okay. Love you, boo.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, thank you all for joining in. This is my manifestation board, by the way. I think y'all seen it on my stories. I didn't get to finish it, but I will post them up later. It's huge. It was supposed to be actually a wall, but I messed it up. But yes, thank you to my auntie. Thank you for coming on and sharing space. Thank you all for joining this live. I will be doing it twice a month at least. Next month is Father's Day, so I will have some ladies coming on talking about their work that they're doing with men. I'll have hopefully looking for some brothers. I was a little hesitant, like I said last week, but because this is a women's space, my business is for women. However, I think we definitely need to start the dialogue between men and women. So I'm gonna have that. Any other woman that wants to come on, just DM me. We sharing stories. We sharing space. This is a healing space. I am a healer, herbalist, soon to be a life coach. So just let me know. I'm grateful for you all. I hope that you all are, doing the work. I hope that you have a blessed evening. And yeah, let's get involved, y'all. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Okay. Okay, I don't want me to end, but we gotta go.